This podcast contains an English accent that most of our Irish listeners will find offensive. Also, there may be some colourful language that you're going to find less offensive. Now, over to Ryan and Leon. Enjoy the podcast.
Oh Jesus!
I'm getting ribbed already here by you, Leon. Like you're having a pop here because I've put shoes on. I met you in the front and had slippers on.
You had slippers on.
And when now we're recording, I put some shoes on.
You put your poetry shoes on.
Yeah, did you?
Fuck's sake! Changed out of his casual slippers into his formal poetry shoes.
My housemate used to say, like, you know, he used to work together during lockdown at home, and he'd just wear his slippers all day. Yeah. I've got nothing about me if I'm wearing like slippers.
You've got your business shoes.
I'm just a bit more no real get up and go about me at all.
You need to be highly focused for this podcast, you know.
Absolutely.
We're very business people doing business things.
We are
professionals.
And that, well, we recovered from the week anyway. We were out last night quite late, weren't we?
We've had a very fucking busy week. You met some celebrities.
I'm not sure about that.
You met a big celebrity. You made probably the biggest boy band in the world.
Yeah, to be fair, we were at a poetry night on Wednesday where we met Jan Brereton and we met Emmett Kerwin, had the chats. But before that, I went to see Take That.
Oh yeah,
the boy band sensation that is Take That.
Poetry in motion. And
the claws were out from the clientele. I reckon Gary Barlow had the pick of about 7,000 middle-aged women in the three arenas.
Say his wife be fuming.
And it's funny that everybody was like, I mean, but the thing is, they talk about Gary Barlow like, oh, he's such a good man, oh, he's so nice. Listen, all of you would rip him to shreds.
Oh yeah,
all of them.
I'd say there was more than knickers being thrown on that stage.
I actually wrote a poem about Gary Barlow.
I hope he hears the podcast. I hope he listens to it.
I really hope he does. I did mention him in an Instagram post.
He'll be chuffed, well. He will, you know.
I wrote a poem. It's called Gary Barlow Shagged My Wife. The missus begged me to see Take That for a night I wouldn't regret. The gig was great, but at the hotel bar after, she stormed off after getting upset. The next morning, we saw Gary Barlow at breakfast. She said, hi, like they'd already met. He shook my hand, then kissed my wife on the cheek and whispered, babe, never forget.
That was Gary Barlow Shagged My Wife by the great and powerful Ryan Duggins.
Oh,
fucking belter of a poem. I read that the other day and I was like, this is amazing. Unreal.
Yeah. See, all these unexpected husbands are sending their wives out to their mates to see Gary Barlow. Be careful, fellas.
Imagine being at a poetry gig and there was women like that. You couldn't.
Well, they weren't as rowdy this week, but we were at Books Upstairs on D'Lear Street in Dublin, where Jan Brereton was in conversation with Emmett Kerwin, and certainly the women in the room were a lot better behaved.
They were much better behaved, yeah. Well, it was a cultural, tasteful event, you know. It was in a bookshop.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
We were all. I actually managed to grab two of her books, plural, not books, plural. Two. Got two of them, and she signed them both. I was chuffed, and it was brilliant, wasn't it?
Very sweet, isn't she? Lovely person.
I was talking to her afterwards, right? And I know she predominantly is page poetry, but she has a great presence when she's. And I found when I started doing poetry, the poems were easy, but it was the in between parts that I found difficult. Was it what the fuck do I say?
You're just not really comfortable.
And she seemed very, very comfortable up there, and being able to kind of stitch poems together, and there was a very good flow to it and stuff like that. And obviously, when Emmett did his poem, I'm sure he's Emmett Kerwin for a reason, you know. Yeah, so.
Sure. And he was sound as well. We nicked him for a couple of pints afterwards as well, and he was
burnt the ears off, and we did.
We did, yeah. But it's just in Dublin in modern times. He's just a really important voice. Yeah. And I said to a few lads at work that I was chatting to. Obviously, you know, you're an arsehole at work. Like, I'm chatting to whatever. And the fact all of them remember the Late Late Show clip.
Yeah.
Of the interview that he did about the bankers.
What do you say? It's like the country's. It's about. We shouldn't be afraid of gangsters. It's sharks and suits. That's what he said.
There you go.
Fucking deadly.
That stays in I mean, that stays with everybody, doesn't it? Who watch that show. It's just a really important voice.
And it's mad, like, obviously, like, you know, I've met him a couple of times, and he's been sound every single time. And then you think, like, the first time I ever saw a spoken word was his poem Heartbreak. Did you ever see it? It's like about the woman, she's a young mother, and it's basically her navigating the world, having a child and growing up herself with this child, and how men kind of perceive her as this young woman, and they be catcalled and that. It's fucking amazing. Yeah. But I'd never seen anything like that before, and I was like, what the this is like 2015, I think it was. And I was like, what is this? Could have been even older than that, but I was like, this, I've never seen anything like this before.
You can see it on YouTube, I think.
It's on YouTube, yeah.
YouTube, Emmett Kerwin. That I had the same experience when he did Just Saying. When he's walking through the Dublin at night, Just Saying. Brilliant spoken word piece. Both are amazing. If you get a minute, go on YouTube and have a search.
And also as well, he's down Dublin Old School in September.
Yeah, that's
in the
back,
Olympia.
yeah.
I think there's still tickets for anybody that's interested and in Dublin at that time. Make sure you grab a ticket, because I've seen the film is fucking deadly, but the stage, my missus has seen the stage play I think 2 or 3 times, and she's like, it's so, like, the film is great, but she's like, the play, you have to go see it. It's a fucking experience. So
yeah, we'll share one of Emmett's poems as well as the show at some point in the future. But yeah, have a look into the tickets if they're available.
Definitely.
Today's show, well, there's loads going on. I'm interested in today because we are fighting against some of the things that have held me back from enjoying a couple of poets. So we're talking about 2 big names in poetry today, and both of them, I wouldn't have really fancied much of them before. So we're going to talk about the reasons why. We got the Agony Aunt as well, about like this week we've been out and about all week. You forget to eat dinner.
Them cultural events that don't have food.
You just forget. So we're going to talk about that, and then we've got some homegrown talent from the city as well. Not Darragh's from Cork, but I think Jessie's from Dublin. Anyway, we'll talk about them a bit later on.
Yeah.
A couple of Irish poets for you. Let's kick it off though with a guy that, a guy, one of the most important modern poets in Irish literary history in the modern era, Seamus Heaney. And I read 100 poems by Seamus Heaney. It's a collection.
You read 100 of them, did you?
Well, yeah, I did. Yeah, well, that's what it's called. It's called 100 poems. And I have to say, I don't know what it is about him, but I'm not really a big fan.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward for you to kind of give me a bit of a tour around him today.
What I like about Heaney is his poems. They're accessible. I love accessibility in poetry. I love. There's no bells and whistles. It's just he can create an effect with very not simplistic. I'm not going to say simplistic language, but it's accessible. He doesn't dress it up. He's not using, as I said, my favorite word, superfluous words. He doesn't use superfluous words. He uses direct kind of. There's almost like, you know, the way like Hemingway does, like just clear cut kind of sentences, and there's a lot of power in that because anybody can read it, you know. And I think that's why when people think of poetry, and I think of, you know, obviously some people have, and I had it as well, where you think, oh, poetry is like highbrow, high art, kind of elitist, kind of, you know, I don't have a degree, so therefore I can't read poetry. That although it rhymes, there's a random bit, but like, you know, Heaney was one that people kind of like, oh, he's like an everyman writer, like Behan, like Joyce, you know, and
but it's from an everyman point of view, I find like Behan, everyman has that pub based everyman side of him, where I find Seamus Heaney has more of a grounded kind of hard working man's way of connecting to the everyday person. That maybe because I'm not really that kind of bloke. Like I haven't done a hard work day in my life. Like, do you know what I mean? My hands are as soft as silk, and I found like when I was reading it, just a lot of it was just quite hard poetry about like turf. But there were some beautiful ones that I picked up as well. Listen, he's won a Nobel Prize, so who the fuck am I? Like
that's what I mean. And like to think like as I said, was going over a little few facts to kind of talk about him, just so I sounded semi-educated about it. But like, you know, for a man that can keep that vision of every day, and like say for instance, like, you know, you said he mentioned that he won a Nobel Prize in literature in 1995, which is a fucking ridiculous achievement to have. He taught at Harvard, he was the professor of poetry at Oxford. Do you know what I mean? So like to have these such esteemed, critically acclaimed titles and these awards, and yet still be normal and still be accessible to a man who is out fucking with a shovel digging holes for the council and can still read it and go, fuck, I actually see myself in that poem. That's great to see. He didn't lose himself in all that kind of awards and critical acclaim that he got over his lifetime, do you know? So
and you can do that. I mean, we'll talk about the Poet Laureate Prize a bit later on, but I do find that there is a certain level of not public consciousness that you break through, but definitely prizes and awards and titles that culls the content of creativity.
Like in the great words of a fantastic poet, Gary Barlow, never forget where you're coming from. You know what I mean?
Never
forget where you're coming from. So like Heaney obviously followed the advice of Gary Barlow and didn't lose himself in that critical acclaim. And like we're, as I said, going through all the kind of highlights of his life, and even like a thing that a little touching kind of thing that I read there was, so he was only 74 when he died. He had a fall at a restaurant and he passed away very shortly afterwards. Had to go in for an emergency procedure. But the last thing he texted his wife a simple message, and his son said at his funeral mass, he texted his wife, and it was Noli timere. I hope I'm not butchering the Latin, but basically it says, "Be not afraid," was the last thing he said to his wife. Beautiful, do you know?
Very profound.
I have to start learning Latin now for me missus so I can text her nice things. She'll have no fucking clue what I'm talking about, but you know, but like that's the power. Like that's just beautiful. It's the last thing he said to his wife: "Be not afraid." You know, I might not be here, but don't be afraid. Face life head on. Carries weight, you know. And like the poem I wanted to read about what Heaney, and I think this might have turned the tide for you in your perception of Heaney. Did you know?
I do remember this sticking out in the collection when I read it, going, "Oh, that is lovely." So I'm looking forward to hearing this again.
So as I said, an every man writing about, you know, everyday life, and this poem's called Scaffolding. Masons, when they start upon a building, are careful to test out the scaffolding. Make sure that planks won't slip at busy points. Secure all ladders, tighten bolted joints. And yet all this comes down when the job's done, showing off walls of sure and solid stone. So if, my dear, there sometimes seems to be old bridges breaking between you and me, never fear. We may let the scaffolds fall, confident that we have built our wall.
That was Scaffolding by Seamus Heaney.
Like, he made scaffolding romantic. Like, that's a skill.
Yeah.
Scaffolding is like, you know, building sites and fucking concrete blocks. And yet he made it like scaffolding about... Because he was with his wife for 48 years. And he wrote that around the time they got married. So, like, his scaffolding was obviously pretty fucking good. He was able to have a marriage that long.
Yeah,
you know?
I feel like there's not enough... I think we mentioned this before, actually. There's not enough art about the skill of keeping love alive for that long.
Because it's like a healthy relationship has its ups and downs. It's tried and tested. It's not, as I said before, you know, people that say they never argue in a relationship, they're fucking lying.
Yeah.
Like, you have to argue. It's a normal part. And, you know, you might have periods where, you know, there's a dip, but then there's always it always comes back. And, you know, and a relationship that stands the test of time is, you know, worth fighting for. So, as I said, your scaffolding may, you know, you're happy that your foundations are dug and your wall is strong. Yeah, so...
Yeah. No. Amazing, bro. Thanks for sharing that. I love listening to that. You were mentioning about prizes, and I want to talk about Carol Ann Duffy.
Ooh.
Carol Ann Duffy. I guess she would be known as the first and only ever Poet Laurete.
Really?
350 years after the title was created, she was the first. And you get it for 10 years. So between, like, I think it was 2009, 2019, she's the Poet Laureate. Now it's Simon Armitage is the current Poet Laureate.
Of the Poet Laureate of, like, the world?
No. So a Poet Laureate is and it's really the reason why I never really read her work. It's a governmental title that's usually connected to monarchy or government, where They are tasked to write poems for particular events of the year, and it's like their go-to poet.
Poet in residence for the government.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, how disgusting. Like, I'm sorry, but anything that's interesting about art is the opposite of that. In my humble opinion, like, I remember when, like, you go on The Guardian and now and again, and you'll see, like, here's the Christmas poem written by the Poet Laureate, Simon Armitage, and you're just like, I couldn't give a fuck. You shouldn't be. But I don't like anything connected to monarchy anyway, and I won't watch Downton Abbey. Do you know what I mean? That's just my hang-up, perhaps. So having that title, even though, like, Carol Ann Duffy grew up where I went to uni, in Stafford, in the UK. She's Scottish, but grew up in Stafford. She's currently, she's obviously not the Poet Laureate anymore, but she works at Manchester Metropolitan University as like a head of like modern poetry. So it's a great gig, great title. But I have to say, I think because of her being a Poet Laureate, it just put me off her being interesting to me. And then I was at work, and I have to shout out Ricardo at work, who knows I like poetry, and he's always reading stuff. And he was like, "Have you read Frau Freud by Carol Ann Duffy?" I was like, "No, I mean, I don't read her. She's the Poet Laureate. Why would you bother?" And he was like, "No, read this. Frau Freud is one of the funniest poems I've ever read in my life."
It's German for Mrs.
And then
Freud,
as in Freud,
so Freud's wife, was it?
Yeah. And basically, it's a poem about, like, the pitying nature of some kinds of men, but it's really a list of all of these shorthands for penises. And it's just fucking brilliant.
Did she write this as a laureate, did she? Or was it after?
I think it was before, actually. Before the Laureate Prize. And I was like, you're so funny. And then I kind of went, you know what? Maybe this is my problem. Yeah. Maybe the Poet Laureate thing is my issue. Because, like, I don't know. What do you think? Like, I know you mentioned earlier about, like, prizes getting in the way of them being interesting.
Yeah. Like as I said, like, that would give me the ick as well, I think. Where it's like I'd expect them to walk around, like, I imagine they'd be given a cape of some sort.
That's the thing.
Do you know? Or like a fucking crown or something like that to walk, you know, or at least a scepter, you know, like a big gold scepter.
Yeah, that's what you imagine, like,
Lord of the Poetry.
Please welcome the Poet Laureates.
You know, that's, and like, maybe they carry her in on a fucking, you know, they have like them things they carry like sultans on and stuff like that. That you'd have 4 people carrying like the chairs and all. That's what I'd imagine with a Poet Laureate. But
yeah. Well, Benjamin Zephaniah, who we talked about on the show, he was offered the Poet Laureate, and he said no, because he was like, he's fought against empire all of his life. That's what his poetry's for. It's about challenging the status quo. How can he be a Poet Laureate? Like, you know. But anyway, that's by the by. Carol Ann Duffy is an amazing poet.
Yeah.
Her work is warm, funny, charming as well, I think. And I picked up her collection Rapture, which won the T.S. Eliot Prize for Literature in 2005. And I read it in one full swoop. It's like a poetry collection that's meant to be read in one go. And it's a love story, really. And one of the poems from that collection is called Tea. And I'm going to read it to you.
Oh, lovely.
If you don't mind. If you'd let me, Leon.
I can't wait to hear it.
This is Carol Ann Duffy, Tea. I like pouring your tea, lifting the heavy pot and tipping it up so the fragrant liquid steams in your china cup. Or when you're away or at work, I like to think of your cupped hands as you sip of the faint half smile of your lips. I like the questions, sugar, milk, and the answers I don't know by heart yet. For I see your soul in your eyes, and I forget. Jasmine, gunpowder, Assam, Earl Grey, Ceylon. I love tea's names. Which tea would you like, I say? But is any tea for you, please, any time of day? As the women harvest the slopes for the sweetest leaves on Mount Wu Yi, I am your lover, smitten, straining your tea.
That was Tea by Carol Ann Duffy. That has me fucking sweating for a cup of tea.
I know. It's like it is a warm cup of tea, isn't it?
Yeah, but although one qualm about it is she didn't say whether she likes lions or berries.
Yeah.
She mentioned all the other fucking teas.
I say Carol Ann Duffy's a Tetley's drinker.
I'd say she is.
So
And also like the China cup, she probably got them from being a Poet Laurete, like, you know, but like I prefer the mug. I prefer the big mug of lions or berries. Or
Yeah,
do you know
fine.
what? Actually, Fallon's from Lidl's. It's very good good tea.
You're bringing in something quite left field there.
You know, it's the gold blend now. You know, you're getting the fancy ones. About $2.30 for a box of 500 tea bags.
Can you do us a favour and explain to our listeners why there's anxiety between Barry and Lion's tea? Do you know what's going on? One's just shit and one isn't.
Because
shit,
some people just, you know,
don't know what they're doing.
It's tribalism.
Right.
It's tribalism. The tea tribalism, I think. It's like us and them. Do you know?
Yeah.
Now, in fairness, I say to people, because I drink both, I go between. So, you know, I'm not just one or the other.
You're no voice of this then.
Do you know what I mean? And
you're a polarising
I
figure.
drink Aunt, well, I drink Aunt, I drink fat. As I said, I dance between a few different teas. I'm not picky. Do you know? But like Irish people, and I'm sure English people as well, I don't trust anybody that doesn't drink tea.
Mm.
Do you know if you go to someone, you invite someone to your house,
Don't like tea.
Into your house, would like a cup of tea, don't drink it.
Don't drink tea.
I'm like, what do you have? And like, a coffee. And it's like 6 o'clock at night. And you're like, a fucking coffee at 6 o'clock? Are you a sociopath?
Wild.
Do you know what I mean? What are you going to do? You're not going to go to bed before fucking 6 o'clock in the morning. What do you be doing till that time? Drinking a fucking coffee at that time. You mad fuck. Have a cup of tea. Like, sit down and have a cup of tea with me now.
Have a tea.
So, as I said, you know, some people I think just get very picky about. They have their preferences. They like a Barry's tea. They like a Lion's tea. But, you know, to be honest, it doesn't matter what bag you drink.
As long
As long as you're drinking tea.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, you're obviously a serial killer. You know what I mean?
Last week you were at the Fingal Poetry Slam and you mentioned Jessie Floods on the show,
yeah.
and her being a prison officer. I think is
probation officer. I think I said parole officer, but she's a probation officer, which I think is the same thing. I'm not sure.
I don't know enough actually.
I didn't get an angry message over saying that's not my job title, so I imagine it's something similar.
Okay.
Same vein.
Well, I was hoping we could talk about her and share a poem from her as well.
Yeah,
if that's all right with you.
So I think we actually have the poem that she did recite
on the night.
On the night, yeah.
Right, amazing.
So
now, was this the one about the housing, or was it the one about the life cycle of prisoners?
It was kind of both. She only did one poem.
Oh, okay.
And it's actually the first time I've heard her poetry. So I was very like pleasantly. I didn't know what to expect because I'd never listened to her poetry before. And but Jessie did a phenomenal poem that week, and it's called "The Revolving Door."
Oh, lovely. Okay.
We can't give them a home. It's just not possible. It's often, here's the free phone number, you'll have to ring for the hostel. To a person who's released with no home and no plan, gets thrown into a hostel surrounded by tablets, gear and cans. Well, I'm aware this is not the outcome for all. Some get released to treatment, but too many fall. Too many fall after staring at the same cell wall. Then release brings another wall, another wall. How many can they climb? These barriers, these obstacles to get away from a life of crime. We are setting people up to continue the cycle, to keep the revolving door spinning. Cell, tent, hostel, doorway, its tidal. A tidal wave that comes and goes through prison gates because we can't give them a place to feel safe. Safe from drugs they worked hard in custody to escape. Safe from behaviours they unlearned and patterns they had to break. The ones I'm lucky to meet before they're released often asked, "So Jess, what's the plan? Have you got a place for me?" My reply, "No, sure, we will have to wait and see. We will only know where your bed is on the day you're released." They ask, "But sure, what will it be like? Will there be drugs or drink? Will I be sharing a room, not able to get 40 winks? Will I be sleeping with me wallet, me passport, me phone down me jocks? Will I be awake all night staring at the clock? Shall I be depressed out me mind with no place of me own? Of course I'll take drugs. It's a place I feel more at home. A place I can escape my reality, my situation. I'd nearly rather be back in prison. At least there's less temptation. I can't give them a home. It's just not possible. But I'll continue to try and help those who get thrown into hostels.
That was Jessie Flood's The Revolving Door. I can only imagine the atmosphere in the room after she'd finished that poem.
Heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And her delivery was so gentle and so powerful. Like, she didn't need to shout. She didn't need to be angry. You could see that she wanted to, every person she was talking about, she wanted to give them almost like a hug and look after them.
Yeah.
But she can't, because it's just not possible.
No, it's not possible. But as well, like, imagine being in a working environment where you're faced with those struggles and those humanity struggles of, like, those people where, like, many of us know this is going on and people are institutionalised and they can't quite find a way out. But we get on with our working day, and then we live in blissful ignorance and we just crack on. And then every now and again we go, oh, for fuck's sake, that is awful. Every day working in that environment, and the guilt she must feel sometimes as well. Wow.
But like her last line, but I'll continue to try and help those who get thrown into hostels. She, like, how jaded you could become from working in that job of, like, constantly seeing people be let down by a system.
Yeah.
You'd feel like there's no hope, yet she continues to try to help those with whatever way she can. And I was just like, as I said, it was the first time I'd read or experienced their poetry, and I was, like, blown away. And that's where you can tell, like, you know, you heard Kev's poem last week, heard Jessie's poem. They're both quite different, but they're both brilliant.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm like, with slams and stuff like that, although they're, you know, you get credition and stuff like that, like, to say to someone your poem's better than another,
it's not. No, it's
do you know
not
what I mean?
thing.
Like those two poems are one of, I think there was 12 or 13 poets. They were all fucking brilliant, and it's like, but you know, competition's competition. We're humans. Humans like to be competitive in certain ways. But I just find with poetry, it's like that's a perspective of someone's. It's bearing your soul, essentially. It's your own perspective, and it's like, your perspective is not better than my perspective on life. You know?
Yeah.
But shit, phenomenal. And
Jessie Floods.
Keep an eye out for her.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about Daragh Fleming, who we both like, don't we? We both talked about Daragh quite a few times, actually.
So, like, it's a question, of course. I like Daragh Fleming.
Yeah, sorry, Daragh. we both like Daragh. I didn't mean like that. What I meant to say is, we talk about Daragh quite a lot when we talk about poetry. Daragh Fleming is a poet from Cork, and if you want to be inspired, and you're not sure if poetry can get you out of a rut, you should go and watch Daragh Fleming's TEDx talk in Galway that he did about 5 months ago, where it's like a 15-minute set, really, of poetry intertwined with this story of how art and the passion that he had for art really helped him out of a real dark place. You know, and I think there's too many. I don't know if Daragh agrees with me on what Matt said. There's a lot of it's obviously, like, talking about mental health, and, you know, it's very popular now, and there's like, you know, there's probably, I don't know whether or not everybody talking about mental health is that honest about their experiences, you know, because, like, there's a whole better help movement going on, you know. So, but Daragh is a real voice of mental health advocacy. There's
an authenticity to it.
Yeah, because he's gone through a lot, that guy, and the benefit for us is that he gets to create art and poetry that is just hard hitting, but also really easy to listen to, and you never leave a Daragh Fleming poem going, I'm not sure what that meant. Like, it's all really on the nose stuff.
Well, accessibility, as we said before with Seamus Heaney, it's important to have, and I think when things like mental health, you know, everybody suffers with their mental health at one point in their life, and, like, there's no one group. Everybody does it. So if you're writing a poem about mental health, it should be as accessible to everybody, as opposed to just, you know, you don't need a college degree to have fucking mental health issues, but it helps.
I was resonating with Dara's story because I remember I spoke about it a few weeks ago when we talked about W.B. Yeats and the day that I had where I took the book off the shelf and kind of felt a level of profoundness. He talks about that as well as like not W.B. Yeats but like inspiration found him to write, and he found himself writing all of these poems that were coming out of his soul, and he just felt incredible for doing that. So, poetry can help. We have the Agony Aunt section as a bit of a, it's a tongue-in-cheek play really that we do, but it can help. Like
these poems, what do you mean? The poems that the Agony Aunt are serious.
Yeah,
we're saving lives here.
We are. We'd hope we are.
We're on the front line.
Yeah,
of problems, first world problems.
But poetry can help you.
Of course,
it can get you out of real ditches. I want to read a poem that Daragh wrote that I read quite often. It's got that kind of Charles Bukowski passion about being powerfully present and positive around the future. So, I think you're going to like this one. You might have probably already read it. But it's called Be Alive. Ooh. This is Be Alive by Daragh Fleming. Be alive. Drag yourself through. Scrape your knees, elbows, shins if you have to. Tear your clothes. Rip your skin open. Shed hair. Pick up scars. Decorate your body in everything it means to be here. To be alive. The beauty of a thing lies in the imperfection. How gorgeous the symmetry of a thing like that is. Blemish yourself into something unforgettable. Stumble, trip, crawl, stagger your way into life. Be alive in it. Cuts, bruises and all. Be live in your life. Be alive in your life.
That was Be Alive by Daragh Fleming.
Be live in your life. Be alive in your life.
I've never actually read that one before.
Have you not?
So, no, it's really, really good. It's some poems you just need to read every couple of weeks or months, don't you? And revisit. And I can see why you'd read that a few times. There's a few poems I have that I'd go back to.
Yeah.
And I'd read. Yeah, and it just kind of
inspires you a little bit. And
gives you a kick up the hole when you need it. Or, shifts the perspective when you need it, So
I don't know if you've seen up on my wall, there's something called, it's like a Believe poster.
Oh,
Have you seen that? So I have printed off, I don't know if anyone's seen the show Ted Lasso. You ever heard Ted Lasso, show?
I've heard the name,
It's an Apple TV show about an American football coach who comes to England and gets the piss taken out of him, right? But because there's like English cynicism battling against his like naive positivity of being an American positive bloke, and he puts on the football team's changing room a poster, and it says Believe, and every time he gets a message he just slaps the poster, and I have it up there.
Do you slap that poster?
Now and again.
Brilliant.
But like it's like that. It's like sometimes you have to you have things,
little rituals
that make you go, oh yeah, come on, come on, let's get after it today.
It's like I have a thing that before I go on stage I say something all the time to
yourself.
Yeah.
Go on.
You want to hear it?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
Okay.
It makes me feel shy.
You're not shy.
I know, yeah.
You walked into my gaff today with like these multicoloured sunglasses on and like shorts and a t-shirt in like April in Dublin. Like.
Back to the Future kind of job.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right, there's a bit of context to it. So the words I say to myself before I go on stage is I am inevitable.
Oh, that would pump you up.
So there's a context to it.
Yeah.
It's basically like no matter what happens and no matter what gets thrown at me or like challenging, and it's for anybody really, it's like I am inevitable. I will overcome. I will achieve what I set out to achieve.
Yeah, man.
I will get there to the mountaintop no matter what gets thrown at me.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm going to be like I'm the best and I'm unreal. It's just like there will be curveballs. I've gone on stage and I've forgotten a poem I forgot a poem in the Workman's, or like, you know, whatever. And it's like, you just roll with it. It's just it's part of life. But I am inevitable. I will get there no matter what. So, and then it turns out that I found out afterwards that I actually stole it from the Avengers.
See, so, no, I haven't seen an Avengers
so
movie
at
for
the,
years.
at the end, I'll jog people's memories. The end of Infinity War, when Thanos gets the axe put into him by Thor, he goes, "I am inevitable," and then he clicks his gauntlet. And I didn't realise that, but it must have stuck into my head. Yeah. But when I first started gigging and I was really nervous getting up on the stage, that just kind of flowed into my head. I am inevitable, and it made me feel better. And I was like, "Oh,
it's powerful, man. There's nothing cheap about that. Like having a ritual that kind of you say to yourself, like it's like high fives and stuff. You know, like nothing cheap about this."
Like Tony Robbins has one as well. He does this thing where like he kind of throws his hands up in the air, spins around twice, and then goes onto the stage. He does it as well.
Does he?
Yeah, like if you watch any of his videos when he's backstage, he does the exact same ritual. So it's just like a thing that people do, but it gets jogged into it, you know. That's like conditions you.
Puts you in that shield mode as well, man.
Puts the performer hat on.
Yeah.
You know, so that's my little mantra I say. But anyway, for people that have real problems.
Oh yeah, well we got one, and actually it echoes problems that we've both had this week. I didn't eat dinner until fecking Thursday because I've been so busy this week. The agony aunt was, whenever I've got evening plans, I forget to have dinner. It's too early to eat before, and it's too late to eat after. Help.
We've all been there.
This is my life.
After we had our fantastic escapades with Emma Kieran and John Burton, I was like, I'm starving, I'm going to get food. But I was thinking of, there's two chippers where I live. Yeah. One is the really good one, and one's really shite. But the one that's really shite is right beside my gaff. And I was like, right, I'll go to I'll sacrifice the good tasting chip. I'm just going to get something. I'm going to go get it. And then when I got there, it was closed.
Oh, fuming.
So I went home and I had about 3 tablespoons of peanut butter and any biscuits I could find in my house.
Smashed it
for dinner. I was like, protein.
I did the same. I got back home and I had Domino's cookies left over from the night before.
That's fucking better than what I had.
I'm lying. It wasn't. It was like 3 nights before. I just left them on
They don't go off. They don't go off. No. It's like space food.
They were terrible, but you have to have something. But yeah, but it kind of matches up to like last week's episode about routine. Like, yeah. I think we all need to do a better job when we've got things on at the night to just switch the fucking routine up. Like, I don't know why we Take That was on a Tuesday. I didn't change my day. Yeah. Even though I knew I couldn't eat at dinner. I just kind of went, well, I guess I'll eat dinner. And then knowing inevitably that I've got no time to eat.
It never happens.
It never happens.
It's like when you go
home going, I'm hungry now. Oh, yeah. You think.
It's like when you go to gigs and it's like you go in at 7:30 and it doesn't finish till 11. You're
it's over.
You're like, am I going to eat dinner at 11:30?
No, you're not.
No. So, been to the lab, been to the shed.
Kitchen, surely, no?
No, I've been to the forge now. I've been to see the town blacksmith. And I've forged a poem. And it's called Midnight Pizza.
Beautiful.
Midnight Pizza. The other half got me tickets to another bloody show. And I'm not sure how to articulate that I'm anxious to go. See, I have this dilemma that stems from a gut feeling. Last time I went out, I was so hungry I nearly hit the ceiling. Hunger is real, y'all. And so are these problems. But I'm not sure if another show is really going to solve them now. I'm not usually a moaner. Certainly not trying to be rude, but a night on the town that doesn't revolve around food is just an absolute stress. And who else will confess that theatre at 6:30 will lead them a tired, hungry mess? 'Cause soon as that curtain drops, I'm out that door, scouring for a kebab shop like a junkie looking for the score. Zaytowns. Yeah. I'm like a hungry werewolf, and at cultural events like a full moon, and if you can't see I need a Bambinos, then you'll be very sorry soon. But just as soon as I'm about to open my mouth, 'cause I'm so stressed I might crack, the other half reassures me. Don't worry, love. I'll bring snacks.
Yes!
Yup, the pizza.
Oh, honestly, women and snacks changed the game.
Handbags.
They changed the fucking game. Oh my god.
We need to start bringing handbags with us. Tote bags.
We're shite at that.
Tote bags.
So bad.
Yeah.
Women are so much better prepared.
Yeah, like
for life in general, I probably
of course
say.
they are. But they keep us alive.
Yeah, they do.
They make us, obviously, they create us first, and then they keep us alive until we're no longer living.
Midnight pizza.
Midnight pizza.
Midnight pizza.
There
Thanks
you
for
go.
sharing, bro.
No problem at all. Absolute fucking pleasure.
Well, as always, lads, I don't know what's been going on. We've been getting a few people dropping us messages, but not enough poems in my liking. So, if you are thinking about writing something and you never have, we want to hear from you. We want to start reading new poems now. Instagram us in the DMs. Get into them DMs.
Slide into those DMs.
It's the Poetry Zed podcast on Instagram. Email address thepoetryzedpodcast@gmail.com.
Simple enough.
TikTok is lovely now again.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, people have settled down, which is good.
They had a cup of tea.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I want to hear from you. That was a fun episode.
It was.
That was really fun. I really
like
enjoyed that.
Put a smile on my face.
Yeah. Midnight Pizza will do that.
Yeah, of course it will.
Yeah.
And if Zaytunes or Bambinos want to sponsor us, please do, because
Well, Zaytunes, we can see you're liking the post.
I know
Zaytunes.
you've been looking at us. You've got your eyeball on us now. You know,
Yeah.
mixed kebab for me, please. I'll have a hot pep from Bambinos if you want. I've gotten loads of stickers. They're all over my room.
The first time my parents came to visit me in Dublin, my dad ate 4 Zaytunes across 3 days.
Oh my god, me and your dad would be mates. We'd be mates.
I don't even know how that's possible, but he did it. He fucking did
I
it.
didn't get gout afterwards.
Yeah, well, you know.
But the semi-healthy kebabs, though, fairness, if it was a regular kebab shop, he'd be in trouble.
Right, okay. Now we are really product endorsing.
We are now. Yeah, we need to stop here before we,
Yeah.
they'll tell us to stop now.
Do
We
you want
get a bar.
Zaytunes?
We might get a fucking kebab. I don't know.
Leon, thanks for your time.
Always a pleasure, never a chore, Ryan, baby.
All right, guys. See you later.